What's up, smart student? How are you doing today? Welcome to the channel. My name is Chelsea Seaburn. I'm happy you're here because today's video is a topic that's been requested time and time again, so I'm excited to finally cover it. And that is how to read a research paper fast. Any source that you're trying to read for research purposes for academic writing, I'm going to teach you how to do this fast, effectively, in the easiest way possible. Sound good? Let's do this. Okay, so this is the second video in my researching mini series, and what we learned in the first one is what effective research is. So per my definition, effective research is smart. So I like to teach people how to do what I like to call smart research. And the way you be smart or you become smart when it comes to research is by being strategic. Anything you want to do smartly, you want to do strategically. And now with research in mind, you want to do this by being selective. So smart equals strategic, which in this case means being selective. And that's exactly the mindset I want you to take into this tutorial. Because remember, the way I like to explain this to college students is that you want to think about your brain power as a currency. So all of that power in your brain is like a bunch of dollar bills. And when you use your brain to say, go read a journal article, all right, you think that's going to be a good journal article, a source for your research paper, you have to spend your currency in order to read that paper. So let's say that article, it wasn't a good source for your paper. Well, guess what? You just wasted currency on something you're not going to actually use because you want to be a smart spender. When it comes to reading different sources for research, the key here is to get the most with the least. In other words, you want to spend the least amount of currency while getting the most useful information is possible. All right, so now I'm going to jump into my computer and pull up the example where I'm going to walk you through first qualifying different sources and then how I would personally read through that source to get that information that I need. All right, I'll see you back in a second. And here we are. Welcome to my computer. Okay, so here's our research topic that we're going to work with, and it's a pretty simple one you might be able to relate to. We're going to research the variable factors that impact procrastination tendencies in college students. In other words, we're going to be researching the different things that play a part in the likelihood of procrastination in college students. So what I've done is I've pulled up 3 different articles here, and I'm going to point out the different things that are important for you to understand. So step 1 is we want to qualify these articles. And what do I mean by qualify? Well, we want to make sure before we read any of the material, or a lot of it anyways, that the information in that article is going to help our research, is going to further it along. And the first thing you want to do this is to pay attention to the keywords. You want to pay attention to the keywords that fit your topic, and you also want to pay close attention to the keywords that don't fit your topic, because if there's a keyword that you see right off the bat that negates what you're actually looking for, move on. You don't want to read anything in that article. And so let's go ahead and start with the first one. And the first thing I'm going to qualify is the title. Very simple. So here we have examining the differences in procrastination tendencies among university students. Okay, that sounds like a slam dunk. Actually, it's perfect. It's pretty much what my topic is. Now, the next place you can look to qualify for this article is the keywords. The keywords are going to be listed on the abstract, generally 5 to 8, not many of them. But what these are going to do is give you the most broad understanding, snapshot if you will, of what is in this research paper. Because what these keywords are is they are the most prevalent terminology used throughout this paper. So reading these keywords, we have academic course, okay, academic self-efficacy, all right, gender, performance, procrastination. Okay, looks good. So I'm going to bookmark it. Let's go look at the other 2 articles and qualify them as well. Okay, so here we go. We find this article. Let's start by looking for those keywords, starting with the title. Academic procrastination in group of high school students. Well, first of all, we're missing an A right here, so no, but this is what I mean by paying attention to keywords that negate your topic. Group of high school students. We're researching procrastination in college students. So Right away, I would close out of this and not waste any more of my brain currency on it. I know it's not going to fit my topic, so I'm going to move on to the next one as soon as possible. Which brings us to this article right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and read that title. Academic Procrastination in College Students, the Role of Self-Reported Executive Function. All right, that kind of sounds like it can fit. Academic procrastination in college students, that's perfect. The role of self-reported executive function. This brings me to a good point. So from reading this title, let's say I don't know what executive function is. What I would do is copy that word, go to Google, and I'm going to see what executive function means. So right here, executive function and self-regulation skills are the mental processes that enable us to plan, focus attention, remember instructions, and juggle multiple ... Okay, so executive function is very close to self-efficacy, our ability to do something. So quite frankly, this title fits our topic. And so now I'm going to scroll down and look for keywords just to further along this, make sure there's no keyword that negates my topic. We have academic procrastination, executive functioning, which we know what that means now, and conscientious, this word right here. Never been able to pronounce that word, but that fits my topic. Keywords look good. We've qualified these two articles. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this first one, walk you through the sections in the paper, starting with the abstract. So you know how the keywords give you the broad sense of the research paper, what's contained in it. The abstract is going to be the next broad source of the research paper, but it's going to be more inclusive than the keywords. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the abstract and I want to point out a few things, okay? Work with me here. The study explored the differences in procrastination behaviors among the students in terms of gender, academic courses, level of performance, and level of academic self-efficacy. Okay, great. So right away, I can see the different factors that this research paper is going to discuss. I like them. I'm going to keep going. Next, we have responses were gathered from the 200 college students of Bulacan State University, Philippines. The hypothesized difference in procrastination scores were analyzed using independent samples t-test. I do want to point out something here. So we have this right here, Bulacan State University, Philippines. This is a key that this research is based on a study done in the Philippines. And so this keyword does not qualify this research paper from being a potential source in our research. However, you would need to make the decision if a study done in the Philippines is going to fit your paper. Okay, moving on down, we have right here. Okay, so results revealed gender differences in procrastination where male students procrastinate more than the female students. Students with low perceived academic self-efficacy showed significantly higher procrastination scores than those with high self-efficacy. No significant differences in procrastination score was found when students were grouped according to the type of academic course and level of performance. Great. This is a snapshot of the paper. And the reason being is, I don't know if you noticed or were paying attention to the content, but everything in here gives you a small sample of the important parts of the different sections in the research paper. For example, this first sentence here, that is an introduction to the factors that are being researched in this paper. Next, the responses were gathered from the 200 students. The hypothesized differences, those are going to correlate with the methods that were used to research that topic. Finally, the last portion in that abstract is note results revealed. We have all the results section here. And so what that is going to tie into is, well, the results section, the findings of the study, as well as the discussion. So as you can see, that abstract is a very powerful piece of information to read right away, because now I know what the purpose of the research was, what research was actually done, what methods were used, and what the results are, and a little bit about the discussion. So with that in mind, the way I'm going to structure the next part of this tutorial is I want to explain the significance of the various parts in the research paper so you understand them, and then I'm going to give you what I would personally go for if I were researching this article. So let's start with the introduction. The significance of reading the introduction is if you want to get more detail about the background of the topic you're going to be studying. Now, when it comes to reading the introduction, there's a trick on how to read this fast as well, because as you probably know, introductions can be quite lengthy themselves. The trick is to read the first paragraph and the last paragraph. The reason you want to do this is because the first paragraph is going to be where the writer introduces their topic and start to bring in any important background information or context that you need to know to understand the rest of the paper. Then going down to the last paragraph, this is generally where the writer is going to move on to expressing their intentions for their research. So what is the goal that they're trying to achieve by researching this topic? So as you can see here, I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit. As you can see here, this research attempts to explore procrastination levels. The phrase right here, this research attempts, that's their intention, that's their goal. So that's why it's important to read the first and the last paragraph, because just like we got a snapshot of the entire paper through the keywords and the abstract, you can get a snapshot of the introduction by reading the first and last paragraph. Now, let's go ahead and move on down to the next section in the research paper, which is going to be methods. And that's exactly what it sounds like. These are the methods, the studies that this researcher performed in order to bring about this research. And so I'll say right now, methods are probably the least important part in a research paper for you, the student who's reading this research, to use it in your paper. The only reason it would really be important is if you were trying to replicate this study yourself, which is uncommon. So instead, what you want to pay attention to are the findings of the study or the results. Results are important because now that you understand the topic that's being researched, you want to know what was found out about that topic. And so that's what I mean by methods aren't necessarily that important, because what the research found out is generally what you're going to want to use in your paper. And here's the thing when it comes to results. I find that there's an even more important section than the results section, the discussion of the results, which is going to come next. So in other words, now that this researcher, with all the information after the methods, the research has been completed, they have their results, they've studied their topic, this is their discussion of the entire research paper. So this is going to be the center of this research paper. This is going to be the heart of this research paper, if you will. And finally, there's one more section in the research paper, which is generally the conclusions or recommendations. And this is a really important part if you're trying to read through a research paper quickly, because if you want to get the spoilers on this entire research paper, what better place to go than the conclusion? What did this researcher conclude after doing their research, their discussion, got their results? That's going to be right here. And so a lot of times, this information right here might actually be the most valuable to you in terms of writing your research paper. Okay, so now the last thing I want to do is go back up to the top, and I'm going to pretend this research paper is brand new, and I'm going to qualify it and go through the different sections of how I would personally grab the material I need to write my research paper. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to read the title, which we did in the beginning. I see that it fits my topic. I want to make sure that there's nothing in this paper that's going to negate my topic. So next I go to my keywords and I read through these and I see that, okay, all of these fit my topic. This research paper is qualified. I want to investigate more. The next place I would go to is the abstract, because the abstract is going to give me the condensed snapshot of the entire research paper. It's going to give me the key highlights of the different sections in that paper. I read through here. I make a note that this is a study in the Philippines because that's important if I'm going to use this in my research paper. I like everything that's being said here. So now I'm going to move on to the next part, which personally, the next thing I'm going to go read is the conclusion of this research paper. I have the snapshot. I want to know what the conclusion were. What were the final impressions after this person wrote this research paper and did all of this? Because the information in the conclusion is going to let me know if I, one, want to read more of this research paper because the conclusions that were drawn, they're either interesting to me, I feel like they're going to fit my research, and I want to learn more about this, therefore I'm going to read more on this paper, or I read the conclusions and I realize, no, this doesn't really fit my research, or I have everything I need. So I read through all of this, and based on the findings of the study, the following conclusions were drawn. I read through these 4 points. If I like those 4 points and I do want to read more, the next thing I'm personally going to go for is the discussion. So I liked what was said in the conclusion. Now I want the discussion. This discussion is generally going to be the expanded version of the conclusion, where it's going to include the results and what the researcher deducted from those results. So then this is what I would read through. And at that point, there's a good chance that I have the information I need, because now I have the snapshot of the research paper, I have what conclusions were drawn, and what those conclusions were drawn from the discussion of the results. So that's personally what I would go for. Now, one more thing I do want to say is, let's say I read all this information, it's great, I really want to use more of this research in my paper, or perhaps there's just a little more information I feel like I need to know, then I'm going to go back up to the introduction, because the introduction is going to give me the background information of the study, the context I need to know to understand what I just read. Sounds a little backwards, but I find the introductions information comes into play later on. And so like I said with that trick, I would read the first paragraph, the last paragraph. If I need more information, sure, I can read the rest of the introduction. But with that, I am finished with this source. Now, I do have this other article. We're not going to go through it the way I just did. There is something I wanted to point out in here that was not included in this first one. So I read the title, I like it. I read the abstract, it fits. I'm going down to the conclusion sections. I'm scrolling all the way down, and I see this right here, limitations. Limitations is another section that research papers might contain, and if you see it, it's something you probably want to pay attention to. The reason being is because this is generally a roadblock, limitation, something that hindered the research as the researcher intended for it to go. And so as we can see here, the present findings are therefore preliminary and would be strengthened if future research were to use behavioral measures of task, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, they're telling you that their findings are non-conclusive and that more research needs to be done. So their research question, they probably weren't able to effectively answer it. So this is just important to keep in mind if you see it, so that way when you do go down to say the conclusion or the discussion, future direction. So future directions is discussion in this one. This way you understand the context based around what their discussion is or what they concluded. And that is, again, that it's non-conclusive in this particular study. And we're back. All right, I hope you found that helpful. Truthfully, I love jumping into my computer and showing you guys tutorials like that, because I actually think watching me do things are the videos that you guys get the most help from. So please let me know if you have any questions about that down below. And then keep in mind that this is a mini series, so I have more videos that are going to come out based around research. And so if there's any topic you want to see or any questions you have when it comes to researching for academic writing, feel free to leave those down in the comment section as well. Finally, the last thing that I want to mention is, now that all of you are back into full swing in your new semesters, the Smart Writers Masterclass is back. So if you haven't attended one of those before, I have a lot of available times. And so I'll link that up here and down below, and you can click on the page, read about it, see if you'd like to come, find a time that works for your schedule, and join me. It's where I help students with the process of academic writing. Tons of students are finding a lot of value in it, and so I hope that could be one of you too, if that sounds good to you. But that is gonna be it for today. Yeah, I have nothing else to share, so go enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you guys in the next video.